Good afternoon, Carol. If I could just say that to misquote Muhammad Ali in another context, Prince Andrew's got two chances of success in this case: slim and none. It's an unwise decision he's taking, and his chances of success are very, very slim indeed. This all stems from, as you suggested, the fact that at one stage, Virginia Roberts, as she was when she was a child, and now Mrs. Virginia Giuffre, did say that she had been abused by a very distinguished Harvard lawyer, Alan Dershowitz. Well, that proved to be completely untrue, and she withdrew that allegation, much to his satisfaction. I think what is in the back of Prince Andrew's mind is the fact that also Mrs. Giuffre said at one stage that she was abused by Prince Andrew at Jeffrey Epstein's ranch in, I think it was either Arizona or New Mexico, one of those southwestern states. And then she remembered, no, that was wrong. So obviously she's got memory problems. There were allegations that he'd abused her on the island in the Caribbean that Epstein owned, the apartment house, the huge house in Manhattan, and also at Ghislaine Maxwell's Mews house in London. Now, it's also important to say that Prince Andrew has never been charged with anything. He's never been convicted of anything. He's never admitted anything. Indeed, he maintains to this day that he never, ever met Virginia Roberts. So
Yeah.
one may say reasonably, why then did somebody at Buckingham Palace think it was a good idea to pay 10 or 12 million dollars in order to settle this case?
And the other factor in this is the interview which Ghislaine Maxwell, who was Epstein's former lover, has now given, which is due to be broadcast on Talk TV tomorrow night. And
That's
she appears to be saying that she has no memory of Prince Andrew and Virginia Giuffre ever spending time together in the UK or the United States. Presumably, that is another factor which Prince Andrew is looking at as he considers whether to try and reopen this whole case, which of course would be pretty sensational.
Yes, well, Miss Maxwell's in jail for a long time. She's a convicted felon, and one has to ask how much value her testimony would have in a court of law. But of course, he's entitled to make this appeal if he thinks he's got a strong enough case. One of the first hurdles will be to explain that photograph, notorious photograph of him apparently with his arm around the 17-year-old Virginia Roberts, with Ghislaine Maxwell smiling in the background, a photograph allegedly taken by Jeffrey Epstein at a Mews house in Belgravia. At the time, these allegations of abuse of a minor in New York terms, because the age of consent is 18 in New York, unlike in this country where it's 16. So there are tremendous things to be examined here, but I think it's interesting that Prince Andrew thinks it's worthwhile to go that route. What he should have done at the very beginning was have been candid sat down in London with his lawyers, with the opposing lawyers, and thrashed this whole thing out.
And this comes, Michael, just as the King is trying to focus on the forthcoming coronation, presumably Buckingham Palace looking at the possibility that this whole case could be reopened with horror.
Not for the first time in your life, you speak great wisdom for one so young, Carol.
Thank you, Michael.
because I'm sure that people are shredding their nails, tearing their hair out at this being regurgitated. I mean, the case with Mrs. Giuffre was settled in order, it was said, to have a peaceful and pleasant platinum jubilee for Her Majesty the Queen. And of course, it is now reported that Prince Andrew wants to get back into public life and wants to reinstate himself. Well, I think the chances of this are very, very, very slim indeed. I hope he's being advised by good lawyers, because at the outset of the allegations by Mrs. Giuffre. Had he gone a different route, we might have had a different outcome. If he's
Okay.
innocent, and let me just say, I believe he's innocent. If he tells me, and I always liked and respected him as a member of the royal family, if he tells me it's untrue, he should have said that from the very beginning, because that lie could then have been laid to rest.